Are you tired of the same old pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 4,000 hours of the best pro wrestling events from over 110 of the biggest names in the industry from over 15 countries around the globe. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Don't you want to sound rich?
Welcome everyone to episode 4 of the Bracket Madness edition of All Things Elite. I am your host, Floyd Johnson, and joining me today, as always, Sir Sam Brown. How you doing, Sir Sam?
Well, thanks, Floyd. Call me by my passport name, my Christian name. That is Samuel. Thank you very much, Floyd Johnson Jr.
I will make sure I send the fine by Cash App.
How are you going, mate? Have you had a nice Easter weekend?
I had a nice Easter weekend. I realize as I get older, the less and less it's actually like Easter. When my parents were still with us, I can remember counting on that good meal on Easter Sunday. I could actually go to a couple places and get good food on Easter Sunday. This week I had wings from Popeyes. So probably the least Easter meal I've had in my whole existence.
Still a good meal though, but definitely, yeah. That's not what I. But when I think of Easter, I don't think of hot wings. So.
Yes. I had a 12-piece hot wing from Popeyes. Yep. It was really good though. It was delicious.
I'll tell you what brings back the magic, having a kid. A kid actually, like, it's a bit stressful because you want it to be beautiful for them and exciting, but the magic of Easter, and I'd also add Christmas and Halloween in there, a kid just brings that back into your life a little bit because they've still got the wonder, they've got the excitement. So we put out a big Easter egg hunt for Sunday morning. We did the hot cross buns on Friday. Do you guys do hot cross buns in America? I assume you do.
I have no idea what that is. Hot cross buns.
You don't have hot cross buns. So, okay. This is blowing my mind. This must be the English people that listen to us must be would probably know what this is. So they're buns, and you can get them with either traditionally it's like fruit, kind of like fruit toast. Do you guys have fruit toast there with like cinnamon? It's kind of got like cinnamon, a little bit sweeter, and it's like a bread roll.
They might call it something else here.
Yeah, anyway. So it's like traditionally that, and then it's got the way that it's decorated, it's got like a white cross on top of it for Good Friday. And traditionally that's on Friday here in Australia. I'm guessing England too. I honestly did not know America had this. Anyway, modern, in the last 10 years, 15 years or whatever, they've got rid of in some places they've got rid of the fruit and the cinnamon and the spices and stuff, which I love, but they've replaced it with chocolate, which of course my 5-year-old daughter much prefers. So we had that on Friday, and then we did the big Easter egg hunt all around the house on Sunday morning. She, had a little basket wandering around and, gaping and trying to find all these Easter eggs that we've hidden around, and then getting absolutely off her mind with chocolate, and us then having to deal with that when it's time for her to go to sleep at night. But it's the wonder and the joy is very fun and very exciting. So, yeah, that brings it back. But I spent every moment that I could find watching Cobra Kai, actually, which I've just gotten into. Have you watched Cobra Kai, Floyd?
I've watched the first 2 seasons. I never got past season 2, I believe.
Oh, really? Okay. I blitzed through the second season.
So some people just call it their ADD, but me, it's out of sight, out of mind. So between season 2 and 3, there was probably like a really long time between seasons. So I forgot about it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I've heard people talking about it for years and never actually got around to it. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I put it on about a week or so ago. I started season 1 and I'm now up to season 4. So I've been cramming that in, and it's pure professional wrestling. The reason I bring it up, it's pure professional wrestling. There's like factions and there's face turns and there's heel turns and there's like all this drama around who's on whose side and who's going to win the fight, and then they throw down. It's this big brawl and there's a big fight, and and then there's the fallout from the fight and people turning on each other. Yeah, it's pure pro wrestling, but very good stuff. That's probably absolutely no news to the good people who are listening, and they watched Cobra Kai years and years ago, but that's been my Easter weekend, spending time with the little one, eating chocolate and stuff, and then binge watching Cobra Kai.
I've met the blonde, William Zabka. I've met him.
Oh, really? There you go.
Yeah, and Ralph Macchio, I was like 5 feet away from when somebody else was meeting him. This was back when I had less money, so I couldn't afford to meet him. So, but yeah, no. Cobra Kai is a very good show. I plan on finishing it. So, but I think their last season is coming up, and that's when I'll go ahead and watch it. Is when the last season. That way, I don't get distracted and stop watching it like I did last time. But
I do love how they've taken what is essentially like an internet joke, which is that, like Ralph Macchio, the guy who plays Daniel LaRusso, was essentially the bad guy in in Karate Kid because of, he did an illegal kick to win, and the actual Karate Kid's the Johnny. But I love how that's essentially become, that like internet meme has essentially become the premise of this TV series that is now like 5 seasons long.
Okay. So the first place I ever heard this was on a sitcom called How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, yeah, that's the first place I heard it too.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it was an internet meme before then, though.
Yeah. I had no idea it was a thing, but that was the first time I had ever heard of it. And when he explains it, it's like, it is brilliant, Yeah. Like, the real Karate Kid, William Zabka. And I'm like, it was, the greatest bachelor party ever. I remember that episode. So no, I just looked up hot cross buns. I can't believe there is a bread with icing on it that is not popular in America. Now, I will say this. It's
not icing. It's not sweet icing. It looks like icing, but it's not. It's just bread. It's kind of like a dough. Like a hard dough. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's why it's probably not popular in America then. That should be a cream cheese frosting.
That's a good idea. Look, maybe you can take this and it can become a thing.
Because if that was
have a business that gets hot once a year.
Yeah, with the diabetes being rampant in this America, if that was cream cheese frosting, people would be here. And honestly, it's probably popular on the East Coast. It looks like something Catholics would eat. Got the cross on it or whatever. But here we just eat like cornbread and then hot butter rolls, that kind of thing. So this hot cross bread. That's new. That's new, mate, for me.
An old school hot cross bun, warmed up. So with like it's got like currants in it. It's got like some orange peel in it. It's got like the cinnamon bit of sweetness in it, and then some hot. So that warmed up, and then some butter on it that melts. Amazing. Better than an Easter egg.
Better than an Easter egg. Well, okay, so Easter egg is just a boiled egg here. What is the Easter egg there?
Wait, chocolate Easter eggs, right?
Oh, okay, that's what you're saying. Okay. See, those are considered different things.
Of course Americans have that part of it.
Yes, I was like, no, like when you're doing an egg hunt, it's you're finding little boiled eggs, or you're finding the opened eggs that you open up with candy inside. It's never actually, most rarely, it's not a chocolate egg. I do like the Reese's peanut butter cup bunnies. Those are basically my crack. So today is the day after Easter, so I will your boy will be at Walmart getting some 50% off Easter bunny candy.
Yeah, it's so funny, the Australian and American cultures. There's so many similarities. I mean, basically because we're talking before offline about the hegemony of American culture and how it just takes over everything. We've got so much shared culture, but then you just come up with one thing that like these hot cross buns, right? Like. Totally, I cannot think of Easter without thinking hot cross buns, because every single year I've been alive, that's part of what Easter is. But it's just like you've never heard of it. It's so strange that there's just these little blind spots that are so different, but we're so similar at the same time.
Yeah, I am in the backwoods of Oklahoma, so don't
right down the south.
Yeah, like if I'm guessing someone in New York. Like Philly, all the eastern states that more
fancy pants Yankees.
Yeah, no, they more go back from the UK. There's more of a crossover, so they've probably heard of them. Dave Finishell, he listens often. He's probably heard of them. I, being an Oklahoma boy, no, have not heard of it. And it's so funny because my wife watches the UK and Australia TV shows all the time. Like, all the time. If you have an accent, she will watch your show. So the fact that I didn't even hear it on on those shows is kind of crazy to me.
What's the Aussie TV show that she watches?
I would love to name it. I don't know. I'll go in there, and it was teenage melodrama. It was based in a high school, and it was an Australian show. I couldn't tell you. I could not tell you the name.
I'm going to have a punt, and you tell me next week if I was right or wrong. It's either Neighbours or Home and Away. That's going to be my guess.
Home and Away.
British people. Home and Away. Okay, of course it was. The great Aussie export, the soap. So these things got so popular in England that England now pays for their production.
Yes.
They're Australian. They're made in Australia with Australian actors, but it's paid for by British TV companies.
That's what happened with Degrassi Junior High here. Degrassi was a Canadian teenage show that became more popular in America than it was in Canada. Drake actually came from Degrassi.
Yeah, Degrassi Junior High was broadcast here in Australia actually on afternoon TV here.
That is awesome to hear, because I first learned of Degrassi from the great writer Kevin Smith. From one of his movies, and that's where I did the term Canadian teenage melodrama, because that's actually the line he used in that movie, and because that's the reason. Like, while in my mid-20s, I started watching Degrassi: The Next Generation, which was not for a person my age. I shouldn't have been watching that show, but I was like, oh my god, this teenage melodrama is amazing. And then I became a fan of Drake, who I didn't even know was a rapper when I was watching the TV show.
I didn't even know that Degrassi Junior. So I only ever saw Degrassi Junior High. I never knew that Degrassi was a thing before then. So apparently there's a bunch of people in it that. This was until, years later. Apparently there's like a bunch of people in it who were in the original Degrassi, and that's like just going totally over my head.
Yeah, the principal.
I had no idea.
The principal's one of the main students in the original Degrassi.
Oh, for real? Okay.
Yes,
that's hilarious. That's actually pretty funny.
So I have this thing when I get into a show, I find out everything about it. Like, everything about it. And Degrassi is one of those shows that I got really into, so I went back and watched the 80s version of it, and a lot of it held up. It was pretty good, and it was just like, it's probably the darkest teenage TV show I've ever seen. Like, teenage pregnancy happens like really quick, and then people die in school shootings, and it's like, it's
That's
crazy.
Pretty intense.
Yeah, shit that doesn't happen in America, Yeah. It just doesn't happen here, and it's just like on our TV shows, they're like, we're so kind of protected, but no, Canada goes hard. Canada goes hard. That Canadian teenage life is hard.
Well, when you said teen pregnancies, the place I come from in Grafton at one point was the highest teen pregnancy rate in Australia. So, like, I was like, oh, that's just growing up, right? Like everyone has that at school, don't they?
Yes.
Everyone's got like two mums or dads that are in their year with them.
Well, I think we graduated. My high school was about 200 people, and I think we graduated 4 moms.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, and that does. I mean, for me, that doesn't even count. The 2 was like that doesn't even count the ones that dropped out early before graduation. So,
yes.
Yeah. Anyway, good times. It seems like we both grew up in the backward redneck areas.
Yes.
Of our own countries.
Yes. Well, so we can get to talking about wrestling.
No wonder I like wrestling, right?
Yes. Yes. I you know what? A lot of country music people come from Australia. A lot of country music people come from Oklahoma. I think we might be more in common than I thought. So
yeah, one of the towns I lived in, Tamworth, is called the country music capital of Australia. So they've got a big golden guitar. They have the Country Music Week, which is a big week of country music in Tamworth. So yeah, it's we've got a lot in common, Floyd. It's just different sides of the world.
Yes. All right. Well, let's get into some wrestling. First thing, I want to make sure you are downloading the show on Google or Apple Podcasts. Well, yeah, I think this is the last day you can do Google. It'll be YouTube Music or Apple Podcasts or Podcast Republic, which Rich Latta told me about. So that's what I'm on now, Podcast Republic. Please leave a rating and review. And if you're so inclined, you can follow us at AT Elite Pod, at Social Suplex, at Austin Sumowitz, and at Floyd Johnson Jr. on Twitter. Sir Sam, hit him with your tweeter.
Sir_Samuel. And you can also join us on the Social Suplex Discord, a great place to chat about all things wrestling and pop culture. Come talk to me about Cobra Kai on there. There's a television section I barely use, but talk about Cobra Kai and tag me in. Let's have a convo, but don't spoil it. I'm only up to season 4. Don't spoil it.
So when I get back from Mania, I'm going to attack Cobra Kai now. You have inspired me to get into Cobra Kai. We can start a Cobra Kai podcast. And you can, of course, I'm going to always be Team LaRusso. And you can be, what is his name? Johnny Lawrence. Yes.
Yep.
You can be Team Lawrence.
Yep. I'll be Team Johnny Lawrence.
Yes, but I made a special subject for this episode, and this is when I post it, it's going to be, is the AEW Bracket Eliminator cursed? And as we go through these matches, you will see a prevailing theme, like even the most in simplest forms. It's like, I even said it, and I'll be real. We're gonna set this out on the front of how I feel. When it comes down to it, I was like, you know what? Okay, you didn't make up for this tournament with the amount of teams that you had. You didn't give us the huge tournament. Fine, I get it. But this is AEW. It's where the best wrestlers are. Apparently, that's becoming
where the best wrestlers.
Where the best wrestlers. It's going to become a catchphrase. They're where the big boys play. I was like, man, they're just going to put on the most banger tag team matches. I don't think we've had a banger yet. I'd
say we were 1 from 4 this week. Yeah. Would be my pick.
What did you say? Oh yeah, I
think 1 from 4 this week. If I had to say.
Let me just say this: we've had good matches, right? We've had good matches. Don't get me wrong. I'm not. Of course, it's AEW. Like their worst match is better than a lot of people's match. We've had good matches. We haven't had a banger. We haven't had one where I'm getting online and be like, Sam, did you see this match? Or, getting in our group, did you see this match? We've just had a bunch of good matches. Solid professional wrestling. No complaints. You know what I mean? But it's just been like there has been no Will Ospreay match of the tag team matches. There's been the bar has been raised, and so far in this tournament, I don't feel like, this is my high arcing thoughts, I don't feel like the tag team division has done their thing. Like if you're like, hey, this tournament is going to be the argument for pushing the tag team division, I don't think it's been a good argument so far.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's like, obviously at this point of the tournament, we're not getting an epic because it's just not that there's not enough time and whatnot. But if you look at the Continental Classic, like they're regularly putting in great matches that were like 15 minutes long. But the guys like Mark Briscoe were, or that blue thing with like Brody King, Eddie Kingston, Brian Danielson, that Blue League was regularly putting in 2 or 3 matches a week that were just absolute killer, and you were like, you've got to see this. There's not been. I agree with you. I think there was one match that was very good and I really liked this week. And we'll get to that when we review the matches. But like, I really liked it. But you're right that there's been nothing where I've been like immediately wanting to get in the group chats, get in the Discords, and just be like, far out. How good was that? Yeah, you're right. I think you're right. We were promised bracket madness, and the madness, unfortunately, has been other madness going on around this tournament, not the how good it's been.
Yes, and that's how, like, this coming from a guy whose favorite form of wrestling is tag team wrestling, and I just I felt like, I don't know, like I said, time restraints. There's a lot of stuff on the back end of professional wrestling I don't know. Maybe they're like, hey, you get 25 minutes and then you only got 15 or whatever. I know that kind of stuff happens. I'm not, I can't speak to that. All I can speak to as a fan is the product that's on the screen. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's like, the product on the screen has been good. And I don't want to crap on good, because good is important. Because honestly, when you stop being good, you watch wrestling like I watch some other companies where I don't really pay attention when the wrestling's going on, because it's this level below good, all these tag team matches I've watched, I have enjoyed. Don't get me wrong, but it's just that one where I'm gonna call my friend Jason, who's a casual fan, and say, "Hey, man, banger."
Yep.
I know you got to take your kids to basketball. I know you got to take your your kids to work. I know. So you only got 20 minutes to dedicate to wrestling. Take that 20 minutes and watch this match. There has not been one of those matches yet. Yep. No,
that's fair.
Yeah, and
that's a fair assessment.
Yeah, and it was just like, unfortunately, and you could blame me, whichever side you're on. I have this expectation of greatness from AEW when it comes to in-ring performances. And I wasn't expecting 4 knock your socks off matches. That's ridiculous. But I figure out of the 6 we've had, we would have had 1.
Yep.
Yeah, so I don't know. I didn't I'm hoping this is not coming off negative. It's just coming off like I'm just like, as a fan, this is me as a fan reacting to what I've seen. So if this it's like you're crapping on it, I'm not. It's just, again, you've set my expectation on a certain level. I expect you to meet that.
I think part of it as well is that there really doesn't seem to be any threads of story that are going through the tournament. There's a kind of the characters of the Young Bucks are sort of shining through, but that doesn't actually feel like it's tied to the tournament in any way. It's just what they're doing. They could be doing the same stuff outside of the tournament and would be very similar. Whereas if we compare it to the Continental Classic, and I compare it to the Continental Classic because that's what we were saying. We were like, we want this to be the Continental Classic, but for the tag division. Like, you immediately had in the first couple of rounds, you immediately had stories getting set up, things getting done. Like Brody King was just dominating everyone. Andrade was, going on a winning run. Eddie Kingston was losing matches and trying to struggle through the loss and not feeling confident. You had Swerve riding high on confidence coming out, and there was stories bubbling and developing, whereas we're not really getting that in this. I don't feel like we're getting those sorts of stories in this tournament. I think that's probably affecting it a little bit because, as I said, there was one match I really like, but my criticism of that when we get to it will be around that. Like, what does it actually mean, the fact that I enjoyed that these guys had what I thought was a good match? So do we want to get into the matches themselves?
And that's what we were going to
start digging into it.
And that's what we're going to jump right into now.
Yep.
We are going to start with, there was 2. This is the most matches we'll ever cover on the show. There were 2 on Dynamite, 2 on Rampage. We're pretty much just going to go in order. The first match in the bracket in the now being referred to as the West bracket. They hadn't been calling it that the whole time. This was new this week, right?
Yeah, I think it was like a throwaway line that Excalibur did, and it's like Tony TK heard it on the headset. It was like, yes, calling that. Everything is we're now using East and West.
Yes. All right, so we got the two-time tag team champions, the EVPs, the Young Bucks, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, passport names only, versus Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn, Private Party with their bodyguard Cheesecake. I just like it because I think that's the best nickname in wrestling right now, Cheesecake. I asked this. Have you ever had a bad piece of cheesecake? I've said it before. I've said it again. It's just like, dude, it's amazing. It's an amazing nickname for that reason. So, yes. Just going to the brief description on... Did you see
the Bucks promo beforehand?
I did. Yeah. And I love how they were doing the putting them over. It's like the whole thing was they were great. You're great because we picked you. Not because you're great. You're great because we picked you. You're our guys.
I love how they were condescending to Renee. Like, she is so good in that spot. Like, when the look that she gave them when he said just one note, maybe smile a little more, the look on her face was just like, you fucking little pricks. But I can't say it. I can't say it because you're my bosses, but fuck you guys.
So I gotta be real on that. I am usually the backstage person. Is just this faceless thing that's there, and I have to say, after people pointed it out, I started paying attention. Renee's facial expressions, as in reactions to people, tell you exactly how you're supposed to feel about them.
Yep.
Like if it's it's a good guy, she's smiling and she's like reacting like, oh, she's just happy and giggly. If it's a bad guy, I mean, like somebody like Matthew and Nick, and they're supposed to be exasperating. She shows that expression, it's like she tells you in her own way exactly what to think about the wrestlers.
Yeah, it's because what she does, her expressions are never to get herself over. It's always in service of what the wrestlers are trying to do. And the reason is because she is like literally the last disciple of Howard Finkel. Like when she was she's talked about this on her podcast. When she was living in New York, she used to like go out for dinner with Howard Finkel and just talk to him and just pick his brains of like how you do this backstage thing and how you do it well. And she became, not Howard Finkel, Mean Gene Okerlund. And she would just pick his brains on, how do you do these interviews? How do you react? And how do you like use your own personality to amplify what these wrestlers are doing? And that's what she does. And that's what she did here. Like she's grimacing at, putting us into her place because that's how we would react if we're getting taught that way, if we're getting treated that way. She knows that she can't speak out. She's not in a position to speak out, but she is also not happy about what she's being told and how she's being talked to. And she's showing that she's not just standing there and taking it.
Yes. And like, I remember with Eddie Kingston, that's where I think I went back and looked at a couple things. So I watched old AEW and she would seem conflicted. Like when Eddie would talk and he's basically talking about kicking her husband's ass. Yeah. So she's like, she's conflicted, but she's kind of in a worry. This is what he does for a living. Maybe even one time it was like he kind of deserves it. That kind of when Moxley was being like a little bit more prickish, it was kind of like he kind of deserves it. And she was conveying these emotions with her face without saying a word, like through the interview. It was like the interview was about the other person, but she was telling you. She was, communicating with fans that might not know how to feel exactly how they want you to feel.
Yeah. Or like to use a different example, like the best friends, the idea, like the group of them, they're a ragtag group and they'll take anyone. Like they'll bring anyone in who's just, who's got a good heart and is willing to fight fight for good and fight alongside them. They'll take them in. They'll make them feel at home in their crew. And whenever they interview with her, she'll put her hand in with them, and like she's almost co-opted into their little fraternity when she's interviewing them, because that's what the point of them is that it's not her getting herself over being like, oh, look, I'm part of the best friends. It's her showing what the best friends are like by being part of what they're doing, because they would welcome her into it.
Yes, this is what you get here on the Bracket Eliminator, breakdowns of why Renee Paquette is amazing. So there you go. But no, like I said, it comes from me. Even more being amazed becomes from the fact that I generally did not care. Like WWE would change the person back there like 3 times, and I'd still think it was the first person. Somebody told me Kathy Kelly got like fired and then came back. I was like, it's been someone different than Kathy Kelly? Oh, okay. Like, I didn't even know she wasn't with the company anymore. She was like, she came back. I was like, oh, cool. New Kathy Kelly is not as good as old Kathy Kelly. Okay. That's how it was. So, Private Party. They came in. They started out. So, we got our good promos. Oh, so I do have to make fun of my boy Dave, right? We're watching the show together. We're watching the beginning of the show together. And he's like, when did the Young Bucks start coming out in the middle on the elevator?
David.
I was like, brother, you don't pay attention, do you? They've been doing this for weeks, man. I don't know what to say.
Since they got a new set.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what to say. It's just they've been doing it. I think he might have pointed it out. Like, yeah, I think they went back down it. I'm like, yeah, they've been using the Vader. It's the Cody Vader, man.
Multiple times a show.
Yes. So Private Party wiped out the Bucks with stereo tope suicidas. Matthew whipped Zay over the barricade. Private Party fired back with silly string off the barricade onto Matt. Nicholas planted Quinn with the Falcon Arrow off the barricade. The Bucks were trying to win by count out. This is actually not a very long description, so I'll just go through it. Zay helped Mark Quinn back into the ring, breaking the ref's count. Nicholas, I'm going to go Nat and Nick to shorten this. Nick superplexed Quinn onto Matt's knees. Brother Zay got the hot tag, scored with a thrust kick to Matthew, and then did a moonsault onto Nicholas, who was on the arena floor. I'm like, is he still Brother Zay now that he's not with the Hardys anymore? It's okay.
They're still calling him. So.
Yeah. Nicholas nailed Quinn with a German suplex. Nicholas planted Quinn with a suplex on the edge of the ring. Private Party rallied back with a gin and juice on Nick. Perfection by Private Party. Of course, they kicked. There was a breakup. Private Party hit more bang for your bucks on Matt, but Nick jumped in to break up the pin attempt. Nick grabbed the ring bell and brought it into the ring, but the ref pulled out of Nicholas' hands. As the ref was distracted, Nick kicked Zay with a low blow. Quinn took one of the title belts off the podium and cracked Matt in the head with it. Zay went to pin Matt, but Nick grabbed Matt's legs and put Matt's foot on the rope to break up the pin. Quinn attempted a 630 splash on Matt, but Matt dodged it. Nick tagged in and they blasted Quinn with the EVP trigger, well, at least half of the EVP trigger, and pinned him. The Bucks moved on, boys. Sir, give me your thoughts on the match.
Yeah, this was an interesting match because when the knock on the Bucks, right, is like that they're spot monkeys, and we know that's not true. But this was such a traditional structured tag team match. Like, this was the paint by numbers classic. The heels get the baby faces start off hot. The heels bring it back by nefarious means, and then they take over and they build up the heat to the hot tag. The hot tag happens, then the heels cheat a little bit, and there's a build up to a climax. And in this case, the heels cheat and get the win after a low blow and other various nefarious means. This was such a traditionally structured match. It wasn't necessarily, the Revival limb work or, Midnight Express limb work or anything. It was kind of the Bucks, their kind of dual offense, their signature dual offense, but it was still very much like that sort of that very traditional structure. And yeah, I really liked it. The hot tag to Isaiah Cassidy was very effective. He almost did like a Nick Jackson-esque sequence where, he did some stuff in the ring and then he did the backflip off the apron. That's something that Nick Jackson actually does. And I think they were actually emphasizing that and were going for the idea that Private Party were like the Young Bucks, right down to the fact that they actually did, as I said, they did that Nick Jackson hot tag, but also they pulled out the more bang for your buck. But, as good as they were, and they were pretty good in this, they weren't the Young Bucks. And I don't think this was a great, as we said it up front, we don't think there's been any great matches, and this wasn't great. There were a few things in it that weren't ideal. Like I think Isaiah Cassidy, he was very effective, but sorry, not Isaiah Cassidy, Mark Quinn, very effective. And he did hit a 630, which is kind of going to contradict my next point, but I do think he's sort of lost a step. He had a leap on him before. And I think he's put on some bulk and he's also been injured. So he doesn't seem quite as explosive as he was when, he originally came into AEW. And I think that's a detriment for him because, yeah, their style of Private Party is that they are, high flyers and they bounce around the ring. And he doesn't bounce around the ring quite the way he used to. But I do think the signature Bucks breathless ending where like you don't quite know when it's going to end and there's people leaping in from left and right at 2.999, that was still very effective. It was still a really good ending, except for, of course, the stutter step on the EVP trigger where I think Matthew slipped as he was going for it. They're wearing work shoes now instead of sneakers, and I guess those work shoes don't quite have the grip that the sneakers did.
Yes, it's we were discussing it before the show. All the advanced maneuvers that the Bucks do, more bang for your buck, whatever. I've seen them wrestle. I probably can count on the one hand the times I've seen them quote unquote mess up. Actually, I could probably count on like 2 fingers the times I've seen them actually mess up. So it was, again, on this theme that it's a curse. It's just like they went to a more physical move where they can, not, hurt each other's back doing the other finisher. They're like, hey, let's go to this move, right? And it's like, oh God, they then kind of botched it. And they didn't do the thing that I would expect from the Young Bucks as crafty veterans of the ring. They didn't just pick them up and do it again. Because to me, doing it again would have given them even more like bad guy heel heat or whatever. People would have hated them. Oh, you did it again, you sons of bitches, right? And that would have added, and you would have got a clean finish. They just went with the 3, and it was just like, I don't know, you should have did it again. I'm like, take the 10 seconds. I mean, we can cut off 10 seconds of a vignette or something, but take the 10 seconds, do the move again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, the match was actually good. It was Private Party looked like Private Party again to me. I mean, is Mark Quinn maybe a step slower? Yes, or maybe he's trying to wrestle a little bit more conservatively to not get injured. I don't know.
That's very possible.
I'm gonna leave that up to the pros to be able to tell. Maybe he's trying to take a little less risk so they can be durable. But I do think it showed some people that might not have been familiar with Private Party that they are good. I did like Zay, I believe, did a side effect, so he was doing a little bit of influence from the Hardy Boys, his time with the Hardys, so that part wasn't forgetting. It's like everything is canon, everything you see is a part of it. So I love that you saw that little evolution of Private Party where it wasn't just a bunch of like flips and jumping moves. You got to see they've added some moves to the repertoire. They've been studying the Young Bucks. They are trying to get better. I'm hoping this launches them. We can get a little bit more Private Party, and we can start building them to the future. But I thought this match was really good. And like I said, it was just like, if, let's just say this was round 3 of the tournament, and Private Party had 2 wins under their belts against maybe lower teams or whatever, I feel that would build up the anticipation and a little bit more of it would have added a little bit more to the kickouts and stuff at the end. I think we came in expecting the Young Bucks to win, and they didn't really do anything in the match to make you think they weren't going to win.
Yeah, we had that call back to the roll up off the EVP trigger, but I think we all knew that wasn't going to happen twice. Like, they even said it in the promo beforehand. They even said, Renee, lightning never strikes twice. And so they even, they called that shot, and they sort of did the callback to it, but they kicked out at 2.99. So they learned, I guess. They knew it was coming, and it made sense that they weren't going to get caught by that twice. But yeah, there was no danger in this match. What did you think of the structure, Floyd? Because as I said, this wasn't like the cocaine banger that the Young Bucks can pull off. I felt like this was a really traditional tag team match.
Yeah. So I mean, I had brought this back up in the earlier. Their point is not to be cheered. The thing about it is, when the Young Bucks worked heel previously, right? They still ran that Young Buck style, and if you remember, there was still the cheers from being the Young Bucks. When you hit the Young Buck spots or whatever, people would cheer. Well, their goal is to really be heel. Like, they don't want to give you anything to cheer, so they really have limited the amount of that explosiveness and exciting things that got the crowd into it on purpose to get a different reaction. They want you to hate them. They don't want you to be like, oh, the Young Bucks are, such rascals. Ha ha. They're healing it up. No, they want you to hate them. That is the goal. So they're even in their matches, they're not giving you something to hate. Like, even in the end where they didn't pick up and do the move again, like I expected, maybe that was another way to get us to hate them. Hey, it didn't look good. Whatever. We still won, kind of thing. And it's just like, right now, their character work is what they're trying to convey about hating this new elite is coming through every movement they do in the ring. This is why I say they're so fucking good. This is why I'm like, when people like, oh, I don't like the Young Bucks aren't good workers. I'm like, dude, the message they're trying to convey in their character and everything comes in through every move, everything that they've done. This match did more to solidify me as Young Bucks as the characters than you already know they're amazing wrestlers. They're showing you they're amazing characters right now.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying there. Because I guess the flip side is they need to do something. If they weren't going to do this, then they need to do things in the ring that are unforgivable. Like, for instance, in that 2020, the 2021 run when they were heels, and that was such a good run as well. Like, that's one of my favorite tag team. That's one of my favorite championship runs, let alone tag team championship runs I've ever seen. They did a lot of things that were very unforgivable, like, how they dealt with Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian, which is something I'm going to bring up when we preview the Best Friends match that's coming up, and the match against Mox and Eddie, the way that they managed to take those guys out, or the way they became a foil for Hangman Page. They were doing things that were unforgivable for Heat, but you're right, the actual matches themselves, they still had those spots in them that got people on their feet. So it's a fine line to tread, because you still want the matches to be exciting, right? Like, when I watch the Young Bucks, I want to have a fun. I want the match to be a party, right? I want it to be fun, but I also want to boo them. So I guess they've got to find the right opponents for that magic to work.
Yeah, and like I said, it's just, it's like if you're looking at Okada, we were talking about Okada really doesn't work the AEW house style. And Okada was joining the Young Bucks, right? If you want to take it to that level, if you want to go deeper into it, you can say they're changing their style to kind of match how Okada builds his matches with the new Elite. Fair. Like when they were with Kenny, they wrestled the super exciting Kenny Omega style. Now with their Okada, they're wrestling a slow build style. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too much in it. Maybe this has never crossed Nick and Matt's mind. But me respecting them so much as wrestlers, I believe it has crossed their mind.
These guys are meticulous in how they plan their matches. They absolutely have thought of this.
Yeah, they're like, we're with Okada now, so we're gonna present like Okada, that kind of thing. So maybe like I said, it's like if you say this sounds like blind faith, it's because I have it. I have blind faith in the Young Bucks. I know they're going to entertain me. They're going to find out. Like there's certain teams I just have blind faith in. I know they're going to work it out.
Yeah, it's like when I remember years ago, I think it was in 2021 where, the Hangman Page stuff was happening, and after he missed out on winning the spot to face Kenny Omega in that elimination tag match, there was a lot of the let it play out, and people were, some people it became like almost a tribalistic thing. But the point at that time I had with it was AEW has earned their let it play out privilege. Like at that point, I wasn't willing to let the WWE let something play out because I didn't trust that I would get the result that that I knew that they had. But at that point, AEW had let it play out privilege, and the Young Bucks, to me, they've got let it play out privilege at the moment. So I'm with you, Floyd. I'm happy to. I'm enjoying it. Like it's not like I'm not enjoying it as well. Like I very much enjoyed this match, and the last. Aside from the stutter step on the EVP trigger, they did have that classic back and forth at the end. That's really breathless and exciting. So it's not like this was a boring match by any stretch. It's just a different style.
It was a good match, and that's what I feel like we've gotten is a lot of good matches. I would not call one of our matches bad. I would not call one of the matches we've had boring. They were all just good, and that is a tip to the hat of AEW that they've raised their level so high that good is, not, what I mean? It's not great.
A 4-star match every week is expected.
Yeah. And it's like, no, that's not, that's not feasible forever. All right, on to the next match in the West. We're going to be finding out who will be facing the Young Bucks. We then had the Undisputed Kingdom, the current ROH World Tag Team Champions, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett, with the International Champion, Roderick Strong, versus the other best friends, Orange Cassidy and Trent Beretta, because they are literally just calling themselves the best friends. So the best friends are Freebird ruling this thing, where like any version of them is still the best friends. So this match I honestly thought was very exciting compared to the first match. I actually probably liked this match better, and I think it more had to do with I didn't know who was going to win, but that is just kind of like my overarching thoughts of it. And Orange Cassidy's dude, it's just, man, from what he was introduced in, I know this comes up, like if you listen to me, I bring this up all the time, how much I 180'd on one person. And it's just like, dude, he's such a valuable wrestler for AEW. It's like when you're doing the most valuable players in AEW, I feel like, if you're talking about 5 years, like he's in that 3. Mox is right there, if not 1. You got Orange Cassidy would be in that 3 also. So
we'll have that conversation another day, but I agree he's been an absolute utility player, particularly. I mean, since day one, really. Like he was part of the very first one. He really came to popularity in 2019, late 2019, early 2020, and he's just kept on going up and up and up, and he's filled so many different places on the card as well. He's, been the opener, he's been the second match, he's, been effectively like a lower carder, he's been a mid carder, he's been in the main events. Absolutely agreed. He's been one of the best wrestlers that AEW has had over its period, and consistent as well.
Yeah.
Never injured, never, like, when has he had a really bad match? I can't remember him having a really bad match. Maybe he has, but, it's not something. He's consistently put up really good numbers. He's a Moneyball player. There's an American reference for you, Floyd.
Yes.
I watched. He was a Moneyball pick, and he keeps on getting on base.
Yes, and the reason I bring this up to talk about his performance in the match, that was just not a random segue. I thought Orange Cassidy was kind of the glue that made this match go. And and that's what I was like. That's what I was getting to. It's just I thought he was exceptionally everyone in this match is a good wrestler. I thought Orange Cassidy was kind of his singular performance in it was kind of exceptional. So we start with Orange decking Matt Taven. Bennett took Trent off his feet with a lariat. Trent flew out of the ring with a tope and took out Taven. Bennett jumped out of the ring and wiped out Trent. Orange took to the skies and jumped off the top turnbuckle, his hands in pocket, and crashed onto Taven and Bennett. I am just going to wrap this up to the finisher. The ref was removing. So in this case, Roddy comes in and he drops the international title. The ref was removing the international title from the ring when Taven and Bennett had Trent set up for their finisher. As the ref was distracted, Chuck knocked Taven off the turnbuckles. Interference! Trent rolled up Bennett with a jackknife pin and scored the victory. What a win, said Shivani. We were looking at this match. Matt Taven did my favorite combination in wrestling. He hit him in the junk and then dropped him on the neck, but that wasn't enough to get the 3.
I enjoyed this match as well. It was good. I think my one critique of it would be that I feel like the commentators were pushing the teamwork angle a bit too hard, which really makes me think that they're actually going to do something. I mean, the best friends breaking up is almost like the New Day breaking up, right? It's like it could possibly never happen, but it's something that people talk about all the time. But it really felt like they were being like, oh, could Orange Cassidy and Trent Beretta ever get on the same page? It's like these guys have been in the same team for 5 years. Like, it's not like they've never wrestled together before. They've been in like trios championship matches together. I'm sure they've had tag team matches together as well before. I didn't like how much they were just banging on that one point of being like, wow, they're not on the same page, which makes me think that they're heading for some sort of angle and dissension or something's going to happen with that. So it seems to be telegraphing a little too much.
So the crazy thing is you didn't like that. I loved that. I loved that. That was like my favorite thing is that because it's tag team wrestling. That's a part of tag team wrestling. That's the part that gets lost in it when you just throw two guys together and then they win.
But they're not thrown together.
They are thrown together because they're not Chucky and Trent. They're Chucky and OC. OC has been a singles competitor for like the last year fighting. He doesn't have to rely on anybody else but him. Now he has to rely on a partner. That's tag team wrestling. That is music to this man's ears, to this old man's ears. Oh my God. They were singing my favorite song and you're like, oh, that was annoying. It's so funny.
But they like these guys have been in trios championship matches together. It's not like,
but it's to me, it's getting over the fact that tag team wrestling is different. Yeah. Because if it's not different, why do you have a tag team title? You know what I mean? Just take the two best singles guys and they become champions. It's like, it's the timing. It's the, I know where you're at even when I'm not looking. You saw that later in another match where that played out, and we'll talk about that in a minute, where it's just like there's this story when tag team wrestling is done right. There is no Marty Jannetty. There is no Shawn Michaels, right? And when you are doing tag team wrestling right, they are equal. No one says who's better, Hawk or Animal. Hawk and Animal were a tag team. No one says who's better, Rick or Scott. Rick or Scott Steiner. Rick and Scott Steiner was a tag team. It's like when you have those tag teams where there's obviously a Marty and obviously a Sean, it almost takes away from it. And when you look at like the Young Bucks, it's like, who's the better Young Buck? They'll tell you Nick all day. But honestly, most people confuse them. They don't know which one's Nick and which one's Matt because they're that good. So the idea that these two people, one a prominent single star and one a primary tag team wrestler, couldn't get on the same page. Whoa. Yeah. You want to know what makes Daddy Floyd's nipples hard? That. That right there.
Yeah. Yeah, look, but I mean, how bloody hopeless are the Undisputed Kingdom at this point? Like, oh my goodness. Like, isn't Wardlow meant to be there to protect the champions? Like,
well,
these guys, isn't
title,
Wardlow meant to be
the title was not on the line. The title wasn't on the line. So
I know, but like
he didn't have anything to protect.
How useless is this stable though?
Dude, again, I talked about this tag team tournament being cursed.
Yep.
That whole devil storyline and all the fruits of it have been cursed. Oh, my
goodness.
They have been cursed from the beginning, from the moment that man did a simple jump off of a stage and just destroyed his ankle. It's been cursed. It's funny because the reason it's cursed, in my opinion, is because they never pivoted. To me, after he shattered his ankle, Adam Cole, amazing wrestler. Well, I'm sorry. You had to pivot to someone else being the devil. And maybe you could have ultimately said that Adam Cole was the devil after he got healed. But for that show, someone else needed to be the devil. Even if it was Roddy Strong. So this faction would have a leader. Their leader is in a wheelchair when he's there, and most of the time he's not there. And as charismatic as Adam Cole is, I don't even think like The Rock could get this thing over right now in its certain thing. It's just bad. It's just you have this person that you built the whole faction around that's not even at the show every week.
You know how you were talking about like AEW has made great average?
Yes.
Like these guys, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett. Like, Matt Taven had a really good Texas death match with Orange Cassidy. But, like, these guys, they're very good wrestlers. As I said, like, that Texas death match was great. This was a really good match. They've had lots of really... But, like, that does nothing to set them apart. Even Roddy Strong. Like, there's people who love Roddy Strong, right? And particularly, like, old-school Ring of Honor fans will sing the praise of Roddy Strong all day long. But there is nothing to me that sets him apart from so many other people on the roster. These guys are just so vanilla, so plain, so bland. Like they're so average and middling. And like they do nothing to set them apart from so many other people on the roster.
The Undisputed Era, Undisputed Kingdom, anything where you put Undisputed in it, the reason it works as a group, right? And then when they represent the group, the only one that really works on his own, in my opinion, is, the leader, Adam Cole, baby. And the one part of it that we're not getting is the leader. He is the charisma. Those other three people are good, but they don't have that magnetic energy charisma of Adam Cole, and that makes the group cool. So you take the one cool part of the group out, you have what you have left.
I mean, I'm not necessarily. I've never been an Adam Cole fan. Like dating back forever. I've always saw that scale. He's an 8 out of 10 for every. Maybe not even that. Like in some instances, I don't think he's exceptional in any way. I know that I'm in the minority for that, and the crowd reactions at different points definitely show that I am in a minority when it comes to that. But yeah, this faction, this tag team is just struggling so hard to feel like a threat on the roster. I know they've got like the international title, the ROH titles, but I feel nothing for them beyond. Yeah, I feel nothing for them.
I mean, they do lose a lot as champions.
Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, they lose a lot. I mean, Roderick has been pretty much undefeated.
But that's because there's more interesting people to beat them. Like, you put the more interesting acts over them.
Yeah, so I don't know. They need to win. That's what makes you a threat as a faction, is winning. And that's the one thing they really don't do other than Roderick Strong. So they only win matches that don't mean anything.
Yep. I will say, moving on from this Undisputed Kingdom dialogue, I did think it was funny in the post-match how Matthew and Nicholas, speaking of characters that, like actually mean something and make me feel something, them coming out and doing like, oh, great match, guys, great match, and then going up and down the elevator was pretty funny. I liked that.
Yes, I even said, someone asked me, did Cody go down the elevator? I was like, I don't think he ever went down the elevator. When he went out of, in one of the sections, but when he came up. So the fact that they went down the elevator is kind of funny.
Well, these guys have still got to produce the show, right? And also I love that they were wearing different gear as well.
Yes.
They're wearing different suits to what they wore in their opening match.
Yes. So, but this match was very good. Thought OC was exceptional. And, and I mean, honestly, the other three guys in this ring all have that same thing to me, like you're talking about, that energy. Like even Trent by himself does nothing for me. Trent and Chucky T work well together. Trent and OC work together. But Trent in general doesn't do a lot for me. He doesn't, I think that might be his character, is that he doesn't I wouldn't say care, but he doesn't get super excited. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yep, I understand what you mean.
All right. So, we're 2 matches down. And then we go to the best weekly wrestling program in the world, AEW Collision. Collider for life, son. You gotta have a faction inside of your fandom, like your Colliders and Dynamiters. Now, I do want to give a shout out on Collision to Matt Cardona. Oh yeah, the Deathmatch King, the indie god, Matt Cardona. I thought it was cool that he was there. I'm not gonna get more into the match because that's for the other show, but it was really cool to Matt Cardona. You're not going to be on the show. Did you have any thoughts on this mystery guest being Matt Cardona?
No, I liked it. I thought it was great. It was a nice. It's funny. When Matt Cardona showed up previously, this was one of the first columns I ever wrote about AEW that was negative. Was Zack Ryder is not elite enough for AEW. And I was very critical that he was straight into AEW because I was like, this is the elite. This is the best. This guy has been happy to sit in catering and cash checks. He's not done anything in 10 years to make himself elite. He should not be on this TV show. I absolutely... He has gone out. I withdraw that opinion about him now. He's gone out. He has carved out a niche for himself. By his own words, he's become the deathmatch king, having had only 2 death matches in his whole career. But they were so impactful and so funny and so well known and well publicized that he is now the deathmatch king, the indie king. He has done everything he can to gain publicity, and he's rightly the biggest name on the independents at the moment. And there's lots of other wrestlers who've left WWE who have not had an ounce of the impact that Matt Cardona's had, and some of them are in AEW. And so I think it was a really great thing that Cardona was able to do that and to face Edge as well, because of course there's so much history between those guys with Matt Cardona at one point when he was Zack Ryder being one of the Edgeheads. So it was, and them even paying that back in the match with Cardona going for the spear at one point. So, I like that he was on there. I'm not watching Matt Cardona matches because I just don't have time in my life to chase that stuff down. But in general, I'm very impressed that by the niche that he has been able to do. I love that he's just gone for the grind. He clearly loves wrestling. He loves the art of wrestling, and he gets the art of wrestling as well. He gets the art of promotion and self-promotion. He has been absolutely fantastic wrestler over the last few years in terms of what he's been able to achieve. And it was nice to see him. It was great to see him on AEW. I don't know if I'd, want to see him as a permanent fixture on the roster just because, there's like who gets de-pushed so that Matt Cardona can be pushed. I don't know the answer to that because there's so many other people in AEW I'd prefer, but I like that he got this spot here. I think it was a great little nod to the history of Edge and a reward for Cardona for the work that he has done.
I never thought I'd quote these two people in the same sentence, but you should use Matt Cardona like you use Nick Gage. You bring him in for that occasional pop. You put him in a good old fight, but I don't like Matt Cardona. I think what is most impressive about Matt Cardona's indie run is that he still wrestles his WWE style. I can still close my eyes and pretty much tell you what he's going to do, right? But he's learned to present it in such a way that it does still feel fresh. But when you break down, like, move for move what he does, same 5 or 10 moves he did to WWE, but he's just learned to present them differently. But I was always a Zack Ryder guy. When I didn't stop liking Zack Ryder, right? They effectively, I even said this is how you bury somebody. You do not bury someone by having them lose every week, because guess what? They're still on TV. You bury someone by doing what they did with Zack Ryder, and you put them on Superstars main event, the shows no one watches for like 6 months. Then people stop caring. Out of sight, out of mind. That's how you bury someone, and that's what happened with Zack Ryder. I didn't find him entertaining, and now that he's on the Indies and he has more control over how he's presented, he's just as big a star. And it's kind of funny when they were both really rail skinny people. Ryder and Edge, they kind of looked alike. And now they're all super bulky. They still kind of look alike. So, like, I'm not, and I mean that in a very generic term. They definitely have different features, but it's just like, they kind of like, oh, they could be cousins. That kind of thing. So, no, I just thought this was a really cool moment. I love the show, but that was like that moment. I was at my sister's 50th party, and just because I love my people, but we're always late, so everything was going on late. So I was watching Collision on my phone, and when it said "always ready," because I couldn't really hear it. I popped, jumped up, and like people around me, they thought something had happened, but I had jumped up because of what was going on wrestling. And I just pointed at my phone. They were like, oh, okay, because I'm the nerd of the family, the obvious nerd of my family. But yeah, that was pretty cool. But let's talk about let's keep the main thing, as they say. We are here to talk about tag team wrestling. And speaking of tag team wrestling, the greatest tag team walking God's green earth, the 2-time former AEW tag team champions, the 10-time overall world tag team champion, 7-star FTR Dax and Cash. And they cut a promo before this match. And I love it because Cash my boy made sure it was addressed. He's like, how are we the favorites? We've done nothing but lose lately. We got choked out by Mox. We got choked by Mox and Claudio. He points that out in their interview. Like, how are we the favorites? We haven't been FTR of old. We haven't been on the top of our game. And of course, Dax comes through, and it's so funny because as people that love Outkast, you have two different rapping styles, but they somehow work together. Well, Dax cuts a promo that didn't seemingly have anything to do with what Cass said. Saying, they went from, Cass said, hey, we're struggling. Dax like, oh, we're the greatest tag team. We must prove our dynasty. Like, these seem like two very different promos.
They weren't exactly on the same page there.
Yeah, it was like they went two completely different ways with it. I loved it. I thought it was great. But I was like, I wonder if anyone else noticed how different their promos were. It was like, no. So yeah, they set that up going into the match, and then the Infantry has done a lot on Twitter, cutting the little backstage promos is magic. It has been great. I can honestly say that's one thing about them. Like, the infantry might not. Some people might not think they're as talented or as far as top level athletes like Top Flight or Private Party. They lap them when it comes to promos and energetic presentation.
Yep.
Like,
and they're putting in the work.
Yeah, Carly and Sean can talk, and when you got a company full of great wrestlers, being able to talk could be the thing that sets you apart. And so I thought that was that's what they've really showed over the last 2 weeks, is they are really good. Put that mic in front of them, Sean and Carly are gonna talk you into it.
And they got a pop when they came out. Like, that's working. It's working.
Yeah, and Trisha Dora, they all like, as a group, they are both good parts, but as a group, their total is so much more elevated. So the winner of this match faces the winner of Top Flight versus Starks and Big Bill. So I like how they did this. Carly clearly haven't done his homework. Took Dax off his feet with a couple of drop kicks. Dean came in and the infantry hit FTR with stereo drop kicks. Cash rocked Sean Dean with the European uppercuts. Dean body slammed Cash and then dropped an elbow on him. Cash caught Dean in midair and planted him hard on the mat. That was the Steiner. That was the Steiner, the Rick Steiner shout out. He was going for a leapfrog.
Went for the leapfrog. That was an awesome moment.
Buzz Sawyer is another wrestler that did that back in the day, and that's probably where Cash and Dax would prefer our reference.
I love it. I love it whenever a wrestler like does something funny or interrupts the typical like jump over leapfrog trip sort of combination. We all know what we're talking about when they're running the ropes. I love it whenever a wrestler interrupts that sort of combination, because it's always unexpected, and that was one of the better ones I've seen. Like, I've seen other ones where they've actually got the trip, which is, happens once in a blue moon, even though it's a move that happens, every single match multiple times. But this one where he caught him when he went for the leapfrog and just like pulled him out of the air onto his head. Great. I love it.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, dude. Yeah, I thought in this match they did a good job of telling the story that infantry is more athletic and younger, but FTR is kind of smarter. They're the veterans. As soon as the infantry hesitated, FTR just took over. Yeah. In any instance. And FTR was so crisp with all their movements as well, and double teams. Yeah, the infantry hit beautiful tandem offense on Dax. Yeah, it says Dax Wheeler, which is hilarious. Almost scoring an upset. Dean DDT'd Cash. Dax inadvertently collided into Cash, which goes through that whole idea that they're not, 100% on the same page, because that never happens. Carly rolled up dazed Dax for a near fall. FTR recovered with the Shatter Machine on Carly and scored the pin. Now, how that happened was pretty cool. Like, that was class. Yeah. So Carly's in the ring. He gets the better of Cash, and he flips him over. Dax then catches Cash, flips him over. That puts him in the exact position for Dax to pick up Carly Bravo and Cash to hit him with the other half of the Shatter Machine. I just thought that was like, you got the RKO out of everywhere, out of nowhere. Most tag team moves are very much staged. You whether it's the Twist of Fate and the Swanton, you look at the moves. It is very rare that a move in the tag team group can be hit out of nowhere. But the Shatter Machine, it's the same position, but they somehow hit it out of nowhere with this one, and they get the 1, 2, 3. I believe they shake hands and they give hugs to each other after the match. But if you want to talk about, if you say this tournament was to elevate a tag team, this tournament has elevated the infantry. They were a jobber tag team. I think they're elevated to a team that will now beat some teams. Just to go back to that, yes, the ending, because I thought it was class. I liked it, because as we sort of said, one of the things in this was that the infantry were slightly ahead athletically, but
the veteran nous was what got FTR through. And that ending was a perfect distillation of that, because that was Carly Bravo thinking he'd got one up over them by, like, he thought he was going to get them to collide with one another, but they're just like veteran know-how, and the fact they're so on the same page, they were able to flip him over, and it was like, oh, you didn't realize you just fell into a trap. Like, in a split second, Carly Bravo went from like, oh, I just did something good, to, oh, bugger, I'm stuffed now. And yeah, it was such a good way to get to that shatter machine. Absolute class. And yeah, this was a really back and forth match. And as I said, like, it was so crisp. And I liked, like, as you said, even though they don't flip around like a Top Flight or a Private Party quite as much, they're still an exciting team. They've got like exciting, athletic offense, and they've got that charisma and energy to them. You know who they feel like? I feel like these guys are like the Acclaimed in 2021. Obviously, they don't have the rap, which is a big difference. But in terms of, they're like fresh, they've got energy, and they've got charisma, and the crowd is starting to connect with that. And they're doing fun stuff on social media as well to like build that engagement. Like, I don't know if they're going to go all the way like the Acclaim did to get like right to the top of the division. But this team, yeah, as you said, like, this team has had a spotlight put on it, which I hope stays. And that's, look, my one criticism of this match is like, what does it mean that they got like a 50-50 match with FTR? Because they did have a promo afterwards. I'm not sure if it was on social media or if it was on another platform as well, but I saw it on social media where they were saying we took the best to the limit. But what does that actually mean? We laid out like a few different scenarios which would have been last week, which would have potentially had more of a story to them, and would have also been exciting matches. And so I guess, like, for me, the success of the infantry in this tournament only matters if there's, like, if this match, them taking FTR to the limit, means something in 3 months' time. Or if they're left off TV for 3 months, then, what's been the point of it? But yeah, they could be something, and they've shown in this tournament that they could be if the spotlight's on them. They've got the offense, they've got the in-ring, they've got the microphone, they've got the microphone skills, they've got the charisma, and as you said, they've got the presentation. The puzzle pieces are there. It's just a matter of if they're going to get featured.
Absolutely. And, again, when you got that hour of Rampage, I will always say this, you have that hour of Rampage, and I think it's forgotten by, because, a lot of people might not stay up on a Friday night. But that hour of Rampage has to be important, as far as that's where you should be building your next acts, is that hour of Rampage. So yep. I want to see the infantry on Rampage getting wins. I want to see Top Flight. I want to see Private Party on Rampage getting wins, because it's important that you establish that these teams can win. That way, when you come and you finally do the, like the false finishes or whatever, they're more believable. And it was like, I wanted to believe that the infantry was going to win this match. I didn't. You know what I mean? And I do like the fact that they've had two matches, on TV, 2 matches on TV, on Dynamite TV. And, there's some people that just watch Dynamite or Collision. No, you still haven't seen their finisher yet. You still haven't seen the boot camp. So it's like, sometimes they'll bring someone out and that are young, and they'll hit their finisher and everybody's kicking out of it. So when they finally start beating people with the finisher, it's like, people have been kicking out of this forever. But now with infantry, you still haven't seen their best move. I mean, of course, if you watch,
they're protecting it.
Yeah, if you watch ROH or you watch the other programming, you have. But the boot camp is a really cool move, and I mean, it's been done in different variations of moves, but I think they pull it off really well. So, when they finally do pull out that move, I think that's going to add to their fandom a little bit.
If these guys are like cutting good promos as well on Rampage, then that'll get clipped up and put on social media, and that'll help build the hype around them. One thing I was thinking is there because AEW is so driven by factions, not as much now as I think as it was in the start, but it's still very faction heavy. Is there a singles, and I haven't thought about this too much either, is there a singles wrestler who you could sort of attach them to a little bit that might mean that they get featured as an adjacent act to this singles competitor?
I don't know if anybody has military background, but
it'd have to be someone with that.
Or but it's like one of those things you can just attach someone to the infantry that if someone that doesn't have a lot of charisma, that needs a little charisma around them, but you got to find the right aspect. I can't think of a person right now off the top of my head. It'd have to be like long thinking about, because I know some wrestlers that I could say that needs them, but I don't think they would end up working, as far as going over as far as a tandem or a group. Like, they look right together, which that means a lot that they look right together. So
yeah, absolutely.
But I they have something there. They have something there. Just internet buzz, crowd reaction. They have something with the infantry. But now that you've done this, now that you've put them at this label, you gotta keep them on TV. You gotta keep them on TV. If they go away, they're dead. You're not gonna bring them back. You gotta keep them on TV weekly.
Yeah, I'd love to see them. Whoever wins this, I'd love to see the infantry get a chance to go up against them at some point for the tag team titles. That would be great. But yeah, look, back to the match. This was the best match of the tournament so far by quite a bit. I loved how crisp it was. The infantry were exciting. They jumped off the page. The crowd was into it, and FTR were crisp. And they sort of sold. They worked that story of how they weren't on the same page, but made it work through their skills. And of course, like, there was just some really crisp offense. There was the power bomb where they were like sort of both going. I think it was after Sean Dean. There was a really merciless powerbomb from Dax, and then the finish, as I said, that was absolute class. So best match of the tournament so far. This was the one that I really enjoyed the most.
Yeah, Carly's very exciting. And then Sean, the captain, how they've worked their niches for the team, it balances each other out, and it's just like, I don't know. I really do think they have something there. I'm like, are they going to ever be AEW World Tag Team Champions? Who knows? But I think they do have a solid tag team for the group, Yep. Yeah. So,
as I said, the team I'd compare them to would be like the Acclaimed in 2021 when they're starting to get a bit of buzz around them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. The next match, which, was the talk of the week. It might not have been the best match, but it was the talk. It was your former AEW Tag Team Champions, Absolute Ricky Starks and Big Bill, versus Dante and Darius Martin. Promo before this match, Big Bill used some March Madness lingo and said Big Bill and Ricky Starks were the 1 seed. Top Flight was the 16 seed. And, they were going to basically destroy him. And then Ricky Starks said he guarantees that they're going to beat FTR again and get to the tag team championship. Now, it's so funny. If you look at the promo and what ended up happening, you would have thought the promo was foreshadowing what ended up happening. Right? Because they were so overconfident. It seemed like the promo, like Scott, Razor Ramon cut before he fought the 1-2-3 Kid. It felt like the promo was setting them up to be upset. So, I don't know. Did you even think about that? Like, if you look at that promo after the match, it's like, oh, they were setting it up the whole time.
I didn't think about that, but now you've said it. Look, so one thing that doesn't really work in wrestling and no one else really is ever on board with is a concept called death of the author. Have you ever heard of that concept, Floyd?
I have.
Yeah, okay. So essentially what it is, if people who are listening don't know, is that authorial intention doesn't matter. What matters is what was presented. So what actually happens on the screen and in the ring is what matters. Not what we think was meant to happen. And when it comes to botches and things like that, that means we don't consider them botches. We consider them to be part of the presentation. So my biggest thing for this is a WrestleMania 33 main event of the Roman Reigns versus The Undertaker, right? Because they had a few famous botches in it. But if you consider that with the perspective of Death of the Author in mind, those botches are actually part of the story, the grander story of this match, which is The Undertaker's powers finally failing him. And, I guess no one else wants to talk about that match like that, unfortunately. I once wrote a column about it, like really early on. I wrote a column about that how it was a masterpiece. But unfortunately, The Undertaker came back, so his powers did come back to him, and they were summoned by John Cena or something ridiculous. And no one wants to talk Death of the Author with me. But if you do take Death of the Author into account, then maybe this was foreshadowing. Maybe this was like skilled foreshadowing, because they knew that there was going to be a moment in this match where it looked like Ricky Starks got injured, and they were going to get beaten by Top Flight with a roll up, where when it looked like Ricky Starks had been injured due to his overconfidence.
Yes, and you know what? My initial reaction to that Roman Reigns and Undertaker match, just to throw this out there, I thought it was boring as sin. But I thought what you said, I thought they meant for it to happen, and it just wasn't executed that well.
Yeah,
so I thought Undertaker was supposed to look like he just wasn't good enough that day, and it was. I thought the botches were on purpose. I really did. I thought that was storytelling, and then someone had to come and tell me, they're like, "No, he just sucked that night." I was like, "Oh, okay." I thought that was. It's, sometimes you do something, right? And you're like, You try to go high concept, and even though you executed it perfectly, it still can be boring, right? And that's what I thought they executed what they were trying to tell with The Undertaker not being as good, but it just was boring. So, I don't know.
Yep.
And then someone told, later on, I found out the real stuff. But in this match...
Wrestling fans don't really go for Death of the Author a whole lot, unfortunately.
I didn't know that's what I was describing, because I've heard of Death of the Author as a person that is prominent to watch a lot of movies and TV shows and documentaries about movies and TV shows. I've heard of that, but it's just I don't think I've heard it explained that way.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So the winner faces FTR. Winner faces FTR. So we already knew at this point. There came to reclaim the titles. Starks took down Darius with an arm drag. Dante tagged in and crashed into Starks with a clothesline. Big Bill grabbed a tag, but Dante used his quickness and chopped Big Bill. This only angered the monster as Big Bill served up a chest chop of his own. Top Flight hit a double drop kick on Big Bill. They followed it up with a double drop kick to Starks. Starks grabbed Darius' leg from outside the ring, tripping up Darius. Big Bill blasted Darius.
Hold on, before you get into that, I really liked that bit after the double drop kicks.
Okay.
Where they were both on the outside. Starks and Big Bill were on the outside. And they had almost a quick strategy meeting. They quickly had a chat to each other. And I liked that sort of strategizing on the fly. And it sort of works with the dynamic of the Ricky Starks, Big Bill partnership, where they're we don't really know each other, we're both singles wrestlers, but we just make it work. And that was those guys being okay, we need to work out something on the fly here. They didn't have a plan, but they worked out something on the fly, and it worked. They used some misdirection, pulled him out.
Yeah, the phenom.
I like that moment. Yeah,
the phenom of the tag team, which is Big Bill and Ricky Starks. Well, actually, you bring that up now, because I did when I wanted to watch it, because I know we had to talk about it kind of in depth on the show, and I do remember that part, and I didn't take that away from it, but I thought that was pretty cool that you brought that up. Because dude, all I heard about was this match. Like I was at this point,
everyone's just talking about it.
At this point, I'm at the birthday party and it's happening, and I check Twitter every now and then. Everybody's talking about this match. So initially, I thought it was a banger. I was like, oh man, they went out and threw on a banger, and then then I found out the rest. So Starks grabbed Darius' leg from outside the ring, tripping up Darius. Big Bill blasted Darius with a pump kick. Big Bill splashed Dante in the corner. Big Bill tried a second time, but this time Dante dodged it. Dante jumped off the turnbuckle and wiped out Big Bill. Of course, this is going to be the recap from Dynamite. So from AEW. So they're probably about to clean up the end of this, just to let you know. Darius tagged in. He used the turnbuckle for a wall walk moonsault on Starks. Try to say that 3 times fast. Dante almost scored with a headstand on Starks. Darius blocked the spear from Starks. Darius used Dante as a launching pad, spiked Starks with a DDT, and scored the pin. A shocking pin that even the referee was shocked by. So, dude, I watched that back. The referee was like, he tried to pull up, and then he hit the 3, and then I guess Ricky Starks said something, and he rang the bell. So
all the referees in this promotion have clearly watched that Cody Rhodes story about the time where I think it was Ted DiBiase got counted a 3 on, and that referee tried to fuck on me.
Yes. Yes.
They're all very cautious not to accidentally count a shoot 3 when it wasn't meant to happen.
No. So did you see, I have not seen on Twitter. I was actually very busy with work yesterday, which is rare. Doesn't happen very often. But I was busy with work yesterday. Did you see where Ricky got hurt? Because I don't think I saw it.
I think it was the Pele kick to the back of the head.
Yeah.
I saw a slow-mo where someone had zoomed in on it. So it was a bit blurry, but it seemed like there was some contact to the back of the head and back of the neck. And Starks, I think, posted something about how he's fine, but they were being cautious. So obvious. I wish he hadn't. See, part of me, I'm so torn in these situations because it's good that he's fine and that we know he's fine. And it's good that we know he's been cautious because there has been, times where AEW's concussion protocol, let's just call it reckless at best, at different points. And so it was good that they, did. And there's currently a wrestler who's suspended for not following proper protocol in ring when someone had a concussion. So it's good that they are public about we do actually have welfare, we do look after our wrestlers. But at the same time, it does show that the finish was not what it was meant to be. We don't know who was meant to win or not, but Top Flight looked very surprised to win, and the referee looked very surprised to be counting 3 for Top Flight. Maybe it was because he just didn't expect to be doing it at that point in the match. But he certainly didn't expect to be counting 3 for Top Flight at that point in the match. Whether that means I'm meant to win or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think, Floyd?
Yes, and this is the this is how I see it. A very bad thing happened, but because of the very bad thing, the right team won. I do, of course, do not want Ricky ever to get hurt. I think Ricky, star. Big Bill, amazing.
Has had neck issues in the past as well.
They were good. The thing is, I thought Top Flight needed this win, really. Yeah. I thought the tournament needed Top Flight to win. Because if you just had the 4, quote-unquote, favorites, the obvious winners win every match, it's just you took something that was supposed to be very, very excited and made it very, very, very predictable. You needed something unpredictable to happen. So FTR now is going to fight Top Flight. I actually thought the match was decent. Honestly, I let's be real. I kind of felt no emotion to this match. I thought it was fine, and I don't know if it was the Ricky Starks injury, so it never maybe it ended in the middle. Maybe this was only
I
halfway.
think it did.
Yeah, I think
or at least probably 2/3 of the way through or so.
Yeah. But I always say I try to react like a fan. I could try to take everything into account that happened backstage, blah blah blah, time, blah blah blah. I'm going to talk about what I saw. And what I saw was a match that didn't ever get to that next level. Like I said, it was the injury, it was the whatever. It never got anywhere. So I'm going to, let's say at the end of the podcast, we'll talk about our favorite matches from the tournament. I'm not going to even remember this match other than, how the ending happened. And like, I'm glad Ricky Starks is okay. That came out, but Top Flight versus FTR, I think they got a magical match in them. I think they got a next level match in them.
Yeah, on this match, a few moments I did like there. Of course, I already mentioned that like moment of brief strategizing that happened after Top Flight sort of took over with their their speed and athleticism. There was also just a hilarious bump where Big Bill was on the outside and he tossed Dante Martin like through the ropes, flush through the ropes, hit a swish through the ropes back into the ring. I just thought that was hilarious. I don't know, Big Bill, there's like a humor to the way he wrestles in like that he does things like that I don't know, no one else seems to do these just funny, it's almost like a funny aside, it's an effective move and it's a great move for a big guy to be doing, but it's also just kind of funny, like him tossing Dante Martin, and instead of tossing him like over the ropes, it's like swish through the ropes and he just goes straight through them. I just love that. And, just Big Bill in general, I really like him. He's deceptively quick for a big guy, and he is genuinely big as well. It's funny, in AEW, you've got like big guys like Powerhouse Hobbs who aren't necessarily as big as like Konosuke Takeshita, but you don't think of Takeshita as a big guy, if that makes sense. Or even Wardlow to a degree fits into that sort of category where like he's not that much bigger than. In fact, I think he's smaller than Powerhouse, like a little bit smaller than Powerhouse Hobbs. You've seen all these people up in person. You know that like the biggest person in the company is probably Billy Gunn.
I was about to say Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn is him and Lance Archer are the size strength combination.
Big Bill too.
Yeah, Big Bill. Yeah. Big Bill is tall, but he's not like super bulky. You know what I mean?
No.
Like like when you look at Lance Archer and Billy Gunn, they just have that natural tall strength to them. But the most massive human being in the company is Big. No, excuse me, I'm saying the wrong name. Powerhouse Hobbs, dude, he's just a muscle. He's huge. He's just muscle on top of muscle on top of muscle. It's like
he's not tall.
Yeah, he's not tall. No, yeah. I mean, he's maybe a half inch taller than me, but dude, it's like you walking down a dark alley with a Hobbs. You walk the other way. He might be the nicest person ever. You just like, you know what? That's a boulder. That's how he's built. He's just like built like. And it's like he's built like the guy you hide behind, even though he might be a little shorter than you. You still hide behind that guy because
it's funny because Jeff Cobb is similar. Like I remember seeing Jeff Cobb on TV and being like, "Wait, I thought this guy was big," but I saw him in person at an Australian New Japan show once, and that man, he is like a fridge. Like he is so thick and wide. Like he is 3 people wide. He is huge.
It's so funny because he's the most unassuming nice person ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks like you could just like literally grab 2 parts of your arms and pull them apart. But he's like, hey, what's going on? Oh yeah, you know you're Jeff Cobb, right? You know. You wrestled in front of a lot of people. No, you would never know it meeting Jeff Cobb.
Yeah. Anyway, point I was trying to make is that there is something to Big Bill, right? And like they've done things with him. They've made. I mean, he's a tag team champion. Like that's doing something with him. But there is like he is someone that I would like to see more of, as like the pushed big guy in AEW, because AEW doesn't. The top guy in AEW is never going to be the giant. But there's always place for one or two in one or two push giants at once. And I think Big Bill should be one of them because he is not only like a good wrestler and he is genuinely a huge human, but he just does fun things that, you know, that you don't see other people doing, like tossing Dante Martin through the ring ropes.
Yes.
Back
I do.
Into the ring.
I've been calling for a monster tag team in AEW for a while. That's been my whole thing. It's just like, I wouldn't say Road Warriors-esque, but just two big dudes that just like destroy all the smaller teams. So, you know, tag teams like FTR, the Young Bucks, smaller teams have a big old obstacle to pass. So Big Bill, I'm pitching it out. Give me Big Bill and Lance Archer as that monster tag team to just kill people.
Well, they kind of went to do it with Big Bill and Brian Cage, right? Like, but then Cage got absorbed back in. But then the stuff with what's his face, AR Fox happened, and Brian Cage was sort of needed back in the Mogul Embassy.
Dude, I just wanted them. I just wanted them to be the giant tag team beating up people. I wanted them to have like a 3-minute match every week where they destroyed someone and then went about their business.
I also thought, you know what I also liked, and I hope they do again, the handstand pin that Dante Martin did and the referee sort of didn't count 3 on. I thought that looked really cool.
Yes.
He got him over, you know, in like almost a sort of a roll-up pin, but he was doing a handstand. It's like there's like the Europe, what do they call it? I don't know the terms. I'm not Excalibur. Zack Sabre Jr. does one like that where
the European clutch. The European clutch.
Yeah, but instead of doing it like the way that they would do it, he did a handstand instead to pin the guy's feet to the ground. So the guy's shoulders and feet to the ground. So I really liked that. I'd like to see him do that again, even though I don't know if he meant to do it quite the way that he ended up doing it.
Yes. Top Flight as a team, I have a lot of expectations, hope for. I think, you know, there's a team you could build a company around. They're both still early 20s.
They're so young still.
Yeah, they're still, so they've had their injuries. They need their program. I don't think they have that yet, right? Which is good and bad, where it's like, you know what's coming with the Young Bucks. They're going to do this. They're going to do this. They're going to go into this, and they've built that up over 10 years. Don't get me wrong. This is not like they've been doing the same program for 10 years. They've built up this moveset, and FTR has their thing that they do. Like, this is happening, and this is when they're going to go into the Shatter Machine, right? And again, this is 10th year of FTR, so yeah, they've built it up over 10 years. Well, we need to start seeing aspects of that from Top Flight. Private Party has it a little bit, and honestly, I would truly feel like when I've seen Infantry in singles matches, they're actually ahead of the other two. And when I'm comparing the tag teams, I'm only comparing them because they're young, up-and-coming tag teams. That's the only reason. Like, they, unfortunately, whatever you want to go to, all the young tag teams happen to all be black. So it's not just that's not the reason for the comparison. So it's like you have these 6 people, and it's just, like I said, it's just like you have to get the crowd a little bit more familiar with them, because a part of is kind of knowing what's coming. Watching your favorite wrestler is almost like listening to your favorite song, and you're ready for that high note. But the thing about wrestling is, they're about to hit that high note, and the other guy comes and punches them in the face, which adds to wrestling, but it also adds to the anticipation of breaking up in the moves. What I realized with Top Flight and Private Party as teams is that they don't have that yet. And that's why I think that familiarity, even if you're only doing 5-10-minute matches every week on Rampage or whatever, it'll build that familiarity with the audience. And again, when you do these big matches, those false finishes will hit a little harder.
Yeah, it's a fine line. You don't want people to be wrestling exactly the same match every single week.
Oh no, I don't want Hulk Hogan. I don't want 3 punches.
You want to have the hits.
Yeah,
and because the trick. I went to a live concert 2 weekends ago, and they're a band that I know so many songs of, and you know the hits, and the crowd knows the hits. And it's how they deploy them that like is the exciting bit. You know they're going to play it, but when are they going to play it and how are they going to use it to like lift the crowd or bring the crowd down or make them feel something? And, that's like, that's what FTR do. That's what the Young Bucks do. It's whatever all the well-known wrestlers do. It's like, how do we deploy these moves to that the crowd is familiar with and know mean certain things? How are we going to deploy them to like tell the story that we want to? And you're right there because, Private Party have got the silly string, the gin and juice. I immediately think of those two. But honestly, I don't know what Top Flight's finisher is. I know that Dante Martin hits a really good shooting star press, but I don't know if that's the finisher. I don't know with Top Flight. And obviously, as you said, the infantry have got the boot camp, but they haven't used that yet. But that's kind of because they want to protect it, which is actually a good thing. Top Flight. Yeah. What is their finisher? Do you know what it is?
Yeah, it's so they do this double jump moonsault. It's actually kind of boring for what they do.
Really?
But that's how they finish.
Yep. What a world we live in where a double jump moonsault is boring.
I mean, honestly, they you expect a little bit more athleticism from them. So I like I said, just familiarity, just a little bit more ring time, and it's like I said, it's like 5 or 10 minute matches. I'm not even saying long things to help them build who they are as a program. So the next time they do this tournament, it'll elevate at that next level. Yep. But yes, Top Flight's advancing. This week we will have in the West bracket, the West Side, Young Bucks versus the Best Friends. In the Eastern bracket, we have the FTR and Top Flight, which is hilarious to me. The reason I'm going to say this is hilarious is because the first time FTR and the Young Bucks wrestled, as we talked about on your match podcast, the Young Bucks came in wearing all Lakers-inspired gear, and FTR came in wearing all Boston Celtics-inspired gear, which was West versus East. Is it telling you who is going to be in the finals this time? We will see. But no. So we got 2 exciting matches coming up. For all intents and purposes, they should be amazing matches. Was it Rampage where the Bucks tacked the Best Friends?
Best Friends. Yep. Yeah. Just as the credits were rolling, the Best Friends came out because the Roddy Strong and the Undisputed Kingdom were beating down Matt Menard. Yes, that's correct. So Best Friends came out because they're in a feud with, obviously had history with Undisputed Kingdom, and then after they'd cleared the ring and went to do the hug, the Young Bucks hit the ring, gave them the low blows, and rode out and kind of posed and talked to the camera as the credits were rolling. I mean, nothing groundbreaking. They didn't say anything in particularly interesting beyond being like doing their EVP stick of being like, roll the credits, roll the copyright sign, roll them, and we'll see you on Collision.
Yes. And a little programming note, Collision and Dynamite are actually being recorded on the same night this week. So, because of WrestleMania, I assume.
Man, I was so hoping. So this is off topic, but I was so hoping that like Collision. I was hoping Tony Khan would just like go for it and be like, "Look, I know WrestleMania's, the most of the wrestling world is gonna be watching WrestleMania, but let's like do Kyle O'Reilly versus Shibata." Or, just like matches just for the absolute sickos, the 100,000 people that will watch AEW instead of WrestleMania. Probably not even that many, like the 50,000 people. Or maybe even, this was my thought at one point, was do it as the pre-show. Like have it run from, call up Warner Brothers and be like, we want to end at 8 p.m. so that instead of watching the WrestleMania pre-show, people watch our show. And then you've just got the contrast between where AEW, where the best wrestlers wrestle against, whatever WWE puts out at WrestleMania. But look, I think it's probably for the best that they didn't follow my advice.
They went the extreme opposite way.
Yes.
They did Wednesday night Wednesday, they're going to record both shows. And then Collision on Saturday is going to not show until 11:30 Eastern Time, 10:30 Central, which should be after WrestleMania. They just went the non-competition route. No WWE fans are going to be able to say, hey, look what they did to Collision. They did it to themselves. Yep. Like, you didn't kill us, we killed ourselves. So
people heading to WrestleMania after parties can switch on some AEW, I guess.
Dude, it'll be fun because I'll be in the car driving from Lincoln Financial Field back to my hotel. So I'll probably, have it on my phone at some point, which is, not the most best thing to do. And probably I'll have on Tiffany will probably have on the WWE because they'll probably do a press conference after WrestleMania Night 1.
Yep.
So she'll probably have on the press conference, and I'll have on, Collision. So that should be fun. I love that they're not really going up against each other. I love the AEW.
Yep.
Like, we're not losing the fight. We're just not showing up. Screw it.
Yeah.
We're going to avoid the fight whatsoever.
Well, I understand them doing that.
Yes. I mean,
it's one thing to talk. You can talk a big game, but going up against WrestleMania, there's no competition. There's no point in doing it.
They also do a live show WrestleMania weekend. They do Supercard.
Yep.
They do Supercard of Honor, so that probably had a little bit to do with the schedule change too.
Yeah.
So but yeah, it's just like completely avoidance. I assume the Young Bucks and Best Friends will be on Dynamite, and then FTR versus Top Flight will be on Collision. But I could see them doing it on both shows, both on the same show. But we'll see. We'll see how. I could see them
waiting because we've still got. Not next week. We've still got the week after next before. Actually, there's still a couple of weeks, 3 weeks. So there's 3 Dynamites before Collision. 3 Dynamites before Dynasty. 3 Collisions before Dynasty. So I could see them holding off FTR and Top Flight for because if they're doing the 11:30 at night, they're not going to put FTR at that point. They're gonna throw basically a Rampage card on there. It's going to be like the Butcher versus Dustin Rhodes or something like that. Like it's going to be the Ruby Soho and Zach Knight and Cool Hand Angelo Parker love story at 11:30 at night. It's not going to be. They're not going to put FTR on at 11:30 at night like that. I reckon they'll probably, if they're going to, they might do them on Dynamite on the 10th or maybe Collision on the 13th. I doubt they'll put those guys up against WrestleMania or on the post-WrestleMania show.
Well, I don't know what they'll do, but whatever they do, I'm looking forward to both these matches. I think.
Oh yeah.
I think we're going to get 2 certified bangers for this one. Whichever way they go to. So let's look into both of the matches. Young Bucks versus Best Friends. And it's like, so Trent was a part of Roppongi 3K with, was it?
Rocky Romero.
Rocky Romero. They were called Roppongi 3K, right?
Yep.
No.
They were called Roppongi Vice.
Roppongi 3K was the other 2. Yeah. So Roppongi Vice. So when I say I've seen Trent Beretta, and the Young Bucks have like some of the best tag team matches ever, it's happened. And then you add Orange Cassidy, which again, one of, if not the MVP of AEW. It's like the pieces say banger. Are we going to get the banger executions there?
Yeah. Look, well, I've been saying since this thing started that I wanted to see the Bucks and the Best Friends redo the Bucks versus SCU match. And they could even add, everyone remembers that match and the blood on the Chris Daniels blood on Matt Jackson's shoe. But the thing that I remember from it is Frankie and Daniels, like the fire that they got on the comeback from the hot tag. And that would suit the way that the Bucks are wrestling at the moment with that more methodical style we're talking about. But you could also even do, and if you want to run the, like some sort of a breakup or some sort of a tension angle. And this comes off what you said about them being Orange Cassidy being a singles wrestler, this you could run the Owen Hart and Bret Hart angle from when they went up against the is it the Mounties in the Royal Rumble in 1992? I want to say 1994. The 1994 Royal Rumble, and Bret, coming off being a singles wrestler, goes back to wrestle with Owen, and they're wrestling for the tag team championships, and Owen gets left on the apron while Bret tries to take the match himself and tries to win the match himself, gets injured, and Owen then storms out, kicks Bret's leg out of his leg, because Bret's a singles guy in a tag team and he's trying to hog the glory.
Yeah, you know what? That would be a great idea. I mean, Orange Cassidy right now is in the tag team thing or whatever, but the team you want to see win, the team I want to see eventually become the tag team champions is the Best Friends, so Chuck T and Trent Beretta. So I want Sue to get her title, but I don't want her to get her title with Orange Cassidy. So, yeah, there's a lot of things you can do in this match. I think if you the best thing to do is, of course, get the Young Bucks over and keep them getting over as evil. Maybe work on Trent Beretta's neck and then build to, with the thing with Orange Cassidy. I think that's probably what we'll see, especially with this new Young Buck style, which I think they are perfecting. They're working on perfecting right now. And so I think this match will go a long way to maybe turning some heads on this, because I think they're going to, throw this up a notch. This might be like the first match of Dynamite.
Yeah, I want them to do some despicable things.
Yes.
Some unforgivable things.
Yes, we need some good cheating. We need multiple crotch shots. We need Okada to come out and clothesline somebody in the middle of the match. Give them their old Rainmaker. No, but they got to do something pretty nasty. But it's just
Okada, previously a member of Chaos. Yes. Orange Cassidy and apparently Best Friends were at one point a member of Chaos. So I think Okada actually tag teamed with them at one point, or maybe not. Oh no, I don't think he actually tag teamed with those guys. There was definitely like some sort of interaction there because they were all part of Chaos.
I can't wait for him to become trios champions and everybody hate it. It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah,
they can be continental champion, tag team champion, and trios champions at the same time. I'd love it.
Dude, I even said that with this tournament. It was like all the different things I've talked about this tournament, who they could be facing. The one thing I've been consistent on is the Young Bucks have to win this tournament. Yeah. You have to have that visual of Okada standing there with the Continental title and the Young Bucks having the AEW tag team titles on their side. You got to have that. That builds them as truly being the elite. So, you recreating that picture, but instead of Kenny Omega, you got Okada there, and now you also give Kenny Omega a reason to want the Continental title.
Absolutely.
When that comes down to it. So, there's a lot of things going on there.
Yeah.
I think the Young Bucks, as they've been since the beginning, can be the foundation of this next chapter of AEW by being, just terrible people with the same name. The other match, Top Flight and FTR, you know what? I'm not going to even go there because I don't want to set the expectations too high. But when you talk about the type of tag teams FTR has had, like that put FTR on the map as like generationally great tag team, it's with teams like Top Flight that work that completely different style from them, right? And with it both being a face versus face, I almost think FTR's gonna have to, for the benefit of Top Flight, they're gonna have to fully work as close to heel without being heel as possible. I think that's the way to work. They got to go to that old limb style, and I think that would help benefit and make Top Flight really good. And I honestly can say there is a little bit of preference in this because heel FTR, limb work FTR is my preferred FTR.
Yeah, you pitched this last week for them against the infantry, so you really want them to turn heel, don't you?
Yeah. I don't want them to turn. Well, I mean, I do want them to turn heel. I really do hate that people cheer them. I think they're better the other side. But I'm saying when you're a team like the infantry, right, which we hadn't seen a lot of offense from. Their first match was it honestly still fits because their first match, we hadn't seen a lot of offense. They kind of won slipping on a banana peel. So, there's a way you can go to put shine on the team. Like, the can't quit team, the P team, no matter what you do, you can't keep down, is always going to make them look better. So, especially with Top Flight, when we're talking about they don't have signature offense, I think that type of story always helps the good guys look better. So that's why if you hear me pitch that often, I just think like when FTR was, doing their thing in NXT, every team looked amazing when they wrestled them. Because it was the whole can't never say die. I don't care if you take out my arm. I don't care if you take out my leg. I'm going to keep coming back. It's a simple tag team wrestling story that makes the good guys, in this case Top Flight, look amazing. And which, again, you see a lot of athleticism from Top Flight. You see a lot of talent from Top Flight. I've seen Dante on his own have amazing matches. But I don't think I've seen Top Flight have an amazing match.
Yeah, not yet. Look, it's interesting you say that about the styles because for me, I actually sort of looked at this one and I was like, this could go either way because FTR haven't had the greatest record when it's come to going against pure luchadors. Like when they've had matches with the Lucha Bros, I've never felt they've clicked. And same as matches with other lucha wrestlers. And Top Flight aren't luchadors, so it's not they are a bit more of a hybrid style. But I wouldn't say they hold a whole lot. They're a whole lot like American Alpha and DIY, which is what I think of when I think of the Revival in NXT. I think of those pairings. So look, it is, as I said, Top Flight aren't luchadors. They are more of a hybrid style. So there is the possibility there, particularly if FTR are willing to do with Top Flight, what they did with the infantry, which is give them plenty of offense and bump around for them. FTR are a very giving tag team in the ring. So this could be a really good match. I'm not trying to say that it wouldn't be, but yeah, as I said, like I had this one pegged as like it could go either way. As long as they can get on the same page, it will be good. If they're not on the same page, it could be a bit of a schmozzle.
Yeah, it's one of those. My expectations are higher because I've always said I know when FTR, when their job is to make the other team look amazing, I feel like that's when they do their best work. Like, yep. Yeah, that's when they do the best work. And it's just like when American Alpha, they were both like, you've heard the stories of how green they were, you know what I mean? And it was like DIY, they were trying to get over that team of DIY, even though Gargano and Ciampa don't need any help. They are exceptional, don't get me wrong, but they needed help, being on that next level for the audience. And of course they got to work with FTR. And I feel like that's what FTR does best. So I just have this idea that Top Flight's going to have their first amazing match. Barring injury, some things, when they have good matches, something weird fucking happens. I don't know.
And this is a cursed tournament, right? It's cursed.
Yeah, this tournament's cursed. So, like they're going to wrestle 10 seconds and then FTR is going to have to win with a roll-up or something like that. And I'm going to be like, oh, God, I just give up. I give up. But, the optimist in me does not allow me to think hope for anything less than the most awesome thing I've ever seen ever.
Look, I'm not ready to say this is going to be on the level of FTR versus the Briscoes, like FTR's at best ever match. But
today's the 1 year anniversary of that, or FTR versus Briscoe 2 year anniversary is today. First time they wrestled at Supercard of Honor.
Man, so good. That's an example of a team that FTR immediately clicked with, and they had brilliant chemistry.
Dude. Oh yeah. It's amazing how two of the greatest tag teams of all time somehow work together well. it's like here's a thought. It's like, oh, Bret and Shawn Michaels only had amazing matches. I mean, yeah, yeah. So no, so yeah, 2-year anniversary on a tag team show, celebrating the 2-year anniversary, and of course, like many things when involving FTR, I was at that show. Actually, it's so funny. I can use this because it's WrestleMania week to tell a story that me and JR were booked to go to. They were doing a New Japan and Impact show, the Multitude of Madness. They had bought, me and JR had both bought our own tickets, but we were sitting next to each other. Like the week before the show, or 2 weeks before, they said, "Oh, FTR versus Briscoes." Yeah, I was like, "JR, I'm going to FTR versus Briscoes," and JR was like, no, and Jeffy R is an FTR fan too. But the thing is, once JR buys tickets, that's where he's going. He's like, okay, I bought the ticket, that's where I'm going. I'm not wasting this ticket. I was like, hey man, you can have my ticket and I'll buy our tickets to it. So you can make some money out of this situation. But I told FTR once, before they even knew my name was Floyd, that if they did FTR versus Briscoes and I had 2 weeks notice, I don't care in the country where it was at, I was going to be at that show. And I said that. I said that before they knew I was Floyd. I was just some giant, just some guy that comes in to visit. Before they knew it, I told them that. And they announced that match, 6 months later? Like, they announced that match, and I was like, they don't probably even remember me saying it. It meant nothing to them. But in my mind, that was my word, and I was going to be at that match. I was like, I don't care if I got to be by myself. And it was like, I will be at that show. I almost bought like first row tickets, but they were stupid expensive. And so JR talked me out of that.
Man, such a good rivalry as well. Rest in peace, Jay Briscoe.
Yeah.
I tell you what, one of the things that I see that makes me think that Tony Khan is just like at his core a good guy who likes to look after people is how he like fought to get Mark Briscoe into AEW, because apparently Warner Brothers didn't want that, but he fought to have the tribute to Jay Briscoe in AEW, and he fought to get Mark Briscoe on the show. And apparently he tried to get the Briscoes on a number of times before then as well. So yeah. And Mark is wrestling for the ROH Championship this weekend as well, this coming weekend as well. Tell you what, that promo package, I pretty much bought the pay-per-view off the back of that alone. I wasn't planning on getting it, and then I saw that package, that video package of Mark Briscoe with like Jay Briscoe speaking in the background, and I was like, oh, I can't not get this. This is just so good.
Yes, dude, the Briscoes. Yeah, it's crazy that Jay is gone, and now we got Mark at ROH. He wrestled Samoa Joe for the TV title last year, and now he's wrestling for the world title. And apparently, it's going to be 11 years to the day that Jay Briscoe won the world title, and it's so emotional. All that kind of stuff, and our Briscoes were banned from being on AEW TV.
Yeah.
But Tony Khan still signed them to a full-time contract. You know what I mean? As they were still full employees, even though they only could appear on ROH. And it was just like, that's the kind of shit you're like, he had extreme limitations with the Briscoes. He literally had someone else present the dog collar for their match. You know what I mean? Because he couldn't do it on their TV. So it's... Yeah, he went out of his way. So yeah, not knowing Tony Khan at all, not having a weird conversation other than I'm a big fan, Tony, that kind of thing. He does seem like a genuinely good person that tries to do his best. Now, of course, sometimes it seems like the wrestling world and the craziness of it catches up with him. But other than that, he seems pretty amazing at what he does.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't it catch up with all of us at different points? I know I've said some off-rip stuff that I probably should go back and delete in my time. So.
I've said that too. I've gotten caught up in this whole fandom thing, or then I have to remind myself, that this is not real life. this is a TV show that I watch and that I enjoy, but that's what it is. But yes, I think that's our preview. I think we're solid. 2 hours in at this point? So,
look, this is the most matches we're going to get on any of these shows. So
yes,
we've gone deep, we've dug deep.
Yes, this is by
about hot cross buns.
Yes, this is by far the longest show you're going to get in this podcast. So there you go. But yeah, it was really fun. We're looking forward to it. I got this sinking feeling where, like I said, I want it to be the Young Bucks and Top Flight. I think that's the money match. But okay, I'm never gonna turn down the Young Bucks and FTR. It's me. I'm like, with the anticipation that we're only one match away from getting it, I have looked up tickets. I'm like, I could get that second row for this much. I'm like, no, I'm just gonna sit with Dave where we planned on sitting. But yeah, I've been tempted as hell to buy better tickets just because it's FTR and the Young Bucks. It is. It's my dream match. It's it for me. It was my match all in. I'm always going to love it more than the next person. If you go 4.5, just know I'm probably at 6. That's how much these two wrestling mean to me. So in St. Louis, Young Bucks versus FTR 3, as much as I'm like, oh, maybe that's not what's best for the tag team division, it's always what's best for Floyd. Always what's best for me. And, so I'm looking forward to that. And Sam, do you think they're going to go Top Flight or FTR? I think we're all pretty much set on the Young Bucks, but
we both predicted FTR versus the Bucks at the start of this, and I haven't seen anything that's convinced me otherwise. You laid out a really great potential way that they could have Top Flight win. And still build up something for FTR to chase last week. So I'll let listeners go back and listen to that. That got rave reviews on other podcasts. Your idea for that. So if that happens, that would be awesome. But I think if I was a betting man, and I am, but I probably wouldn't be putting money on this because I'm not actually sure. But if I was going to, I would probably be putting it on FTR still.
Yeah,
that's the one that makes sense from the what's the biggest match they could potentially do point of view. Not necessarily the best story they could do, but it's the biggest match they could do. And I think that's probably what they're going to do.
The show is called Dynasty. The show is called Dynasty, and they are literally two tag team dynasties.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's where we're at wrap up. Sam, which is at Sir_Samuel on Twitter. Do you have any last words before we wrap up?
No, enjoy the WrestleMania weekend, everyone. We're probably going to be a little bit late when we record next week. We haven't worked out exactly when it'll go to air and whatnot, because Floyd, you're going to be in the thick of it, coming home from the time we normally record this. You're going to be coming home from WrestleMania, so it'll be a bit of a different timeline. We'll get it up though. We'll probably chat a bit about WrestleMania, I imagine, talk about your experience a little bit, and of course review whatever's going on. But yeah, just to flag that it will be out at a bit of a different time.
Yeah, so I leave on Wednesday, U.S. time, so I'm going to start my Rocky marathon because I feel like this is Cody's Rocky 2. If anyone knows, anyone has seen the Rocky series, this is Cody's Rocky 2, and it is in Philadelphia, so I'm excited about that. I'm going to get to hang with Tiffany the whole time. Shout out to my boy Josh. He's always at WrestleMania with us. I think we've been going together since 35. Yeah, 35 was our first year together, and we've been to WrestleMania every year together since then. So, so this will be a great week for me. It's like, I don't know, like I've come with that, this might sum up my WrestleMania run for now, but as long as Cody's in the main event, I don't know how easy it would be for me to be like, okay, Cody's in the main event of WrestleMania, I'm not going to the show. I don't know.
So you'll be there for Cody MJF next year?
Yeah, it's dude. So yeah, somebody tagged me. So MJF is gonna cost Cody the title, and I'm like, you know what? I this is where I've grown as a wrestling fan. 2-3 years ago, I would have taken the bait. That would have turned into a whole day conversation going back and forth to each other. I just replied, "Sure, Jan," and went on. I did.
I wish. One thing I wish, it won't happen, but I wish that there was enough of a line of communication between WWE and AEW and goodwill that they would have Dustin Rhodes able to come out when all this happens, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But
I will flat out.
It'd be lovely if it would.
I will flat out say, from
too much bad blood,
not knowing the background from AEW side, I'm sure they would do it. I'm sure AEW would do it. I don't know if WWE would want Dustin on there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm sure they would do it. I'm sure AEW is like, maybe it's just outwardly, but the whole Cody thing still seems genuinely positive, and they seem to all still rooting for each other. So having his brother at the show, I haven't seen AEW, and I don't think they've done that where they've just like, no, you can't have our guy or whatever. But maybe that's just not something I hear about as just being, a fan. But I hope it's something. Shout out to Dustin. We're actually doing a photo op with him on Friday, which will be cool. And no, it's going to be fun. I will tell everyone, you've heard this often, that 7-year-old, which one's WrestleMania 4? I think I was 6 or 7. That 7-year-old that we couldn't even get WrestleMania 4 on pay-per-view. Actually, my parents found a friend for me to go over to their house and watch, to being now about to go to my 12th WrestleMania. It's never lost on me how fortunate my life has worked out for me as far as what I looked forward to. But to all of you, I will leave you today saying thank you for listening to this show. So yes, the next tag team, next tag team eliminator, you might get a little of my WrestleMania week experience, but we still focus on the tag team wrestling. And you know what? I shout out Sam, because I gotta shout you out. I give my co-host props, but when they announced the 10-team tournament, I was sure Sam was gonna be like, dude, no, we're good. And Sam, no hesitation, let's go, let's fucking go. That is the motto of AEW most of the time. Let's fucking go. And Sam was like, let's fucking go. And I was like, yep, I pick, I always know I picked the right partner. You were right there with me, Floyd. You were right there. There was no hesitation on my part, but I was expecting like, oh, they're only doing 10 teams. What are we going to talk about? That's what I was like. Sam never even hesitated. He was like, let's go. And so shout out to you, Sam. Thank you for doing it. I have enjoyed this. And people maybe you get tired of talking about wrestling, but our show feels very different from our All Things Elite. I do, other than hearing my normal voice, I think Sam offers, enough where it's like, hey, we're different.
It's different. It's not worse. It's not better. It's different.
It's different. So
yep.
To all of you,
so mate, Floyd, we're getting very late, so I'm literally wrapping up right now. Enjoy your WrestleMania, mate. I really appreciate the kind words, though.
Yes, I am wrapping up. I will leave you like I always leave you, whether it's home, work, or school. Always do your best to be elite.